Okay, one.
I just died in your arms.
I just died in your arms tonight.
It must have been
Something you said.
I just died. I am dead now in your arms tonight.
Oh, God.
I just died in
No.
your arms tonight. Oh my God, I'm fucking dead. I just died in your arms tonight.
I really hope that this is the beginning of this episode, because if it is, we are on a fucking leg on this one, old boy.
Well, it certainly is now.
Oh my
Welcome
God.
to this
Wow.
episode of Kentucky Fried
Snuck right up on me.
Roadkill.
Yes.
Rum, rum.
I am your
You're chattering.
I am your chattering chipmunk, Treyton Blackburn.
And I am your crackhead co-host, Evan
Whoa,
Pride.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
All
What
right.
a C's today. How you doing, Evan Pride?
I am doing all right. We so this podcast is coming out delayed. Oh, we had a good rhythm going for this podcast, and then
We did.
and then
you had to go and graduate
I had
like an
to
ass.
go and graduate. Now I live in Louisville like an asshole.
Yeah,
and
I
even
still
though only
live
an
in Lexington.
yeah, only an hour away, but I've been pretty busy doing open mics and shit.
Yeah.
And
how's that been going?
living my goddamn life. It's been going pretty great.
Good.
Meeting a lot of the comics in the local area.
Yeah.
People from Cincy, people from Dayton,
Telling you what you
Indianapolis.
got to do to get ahead.
Yeah, giving advice. I see them, see what works, see what doesn't work.
Sure.
And there's a lot of both. So it's been a fun time.
Well, it sounds like I'm finally going to get to see you here
Yes.
in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so when I first started doing stand-up, I was real self-conscious
He
about
was.
it.
He was.
I was like, why me? What an asshole doing stand-up. Who am I to be
Right.
standing up here with ideas worthy of sharing?
Sure.
But I've graduated since then.
Yeah.
My parents still aren't allowed to see me. They haven't been given the green light yet.
Right.
They're gonna come and see me in July. I'm gonna, for I guess anybody listening, I'll be at, I don't even fucking know the date. Oh, I have dates now. I feel like a real comic.
Oh, my God.
I will be at the Comedy Caravan open mic in mid-July. I think
Yeah.
it's like July 14th or something. Yeah, July 14th, that Wednesday.
Yeah.
People come out to that if you want.
Well, and I take it you feel good about your stuff then, yeah? If you're,
Well, yeah.
if you're opening up.
Well, the more you do it, the more confident and comfortable
Sure.
you feel and stuff. And well, I'm not opening. I'm just on the open mic for that night
Right.
at that the Comedy Caravan. That's the only real quote unquote real comedy club in Louisville.
Sure.
Some people would take objection to that, but that's how they advertise it.
Right.
And it feels like a comedy club. You go downstairs to enter it, and it's a cool little bricky basement. It's a cool spot. I enjoy doing comedy there. And also, I feel like I'm just at a point now where I'm like, when you first start doing comedy, you're like, what the fuck? Like, I have nothing that I know that works. Like your first time going on stage, you are just blind.
Yeah.
And you're just grasping at straws. And some people have like life experience they can talk about. And I was like, how math class is crazy, right? Shit like that. So, but now I've got a good little arsenal of jokes that do well most of the time, and I'm always writing new ones. So
how are you? So like you're performing at the same venues every so often. Is that right?
yeah, there's different open mics all around town.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Mexican restaurants, bars.
Yeah.
They'll have one. I'm doing one at a hot dog place tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, they're just all over the place wherever they can.
So like my question is, how often are you trying to like shake your setup, right? Like, are you trying to get like your a different kind of vibe going every time you show up at a different place, or are you trying to distill and perfect the set that you've got time to time?
Well, you've got this. So you got this stuff that you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
I always try to like switch up the order and stuff, just tweak and tune and see what works better leading into the next thing and whatnot.
Right, but you're not developing whole cloth something new every
No.
time you go to a place.
No, it's not like if I'm doing 5 minutes, I got to come up with a brand new 5-minute story.
Sure.
I have a bunch of just little jokes. It's like, okay, this one I know takes about a minute. This one's like 30 seconds. It's kind of quicker. This one's kind of a minute 30. It's kind of a longer one.
Yeah.
And so you kind of, mix and match from there. But I try to you have to do stuff that that works,
right.
so that you don't hopefully don't bomb up there. You don't look like an asshole.
Right.
You typically you try to open with something that works, so that the audience gets on your side. Because once you make an audience laugh, they're much more inclined to laugh again.
Sure.
It's kind of like a trust thing. And then you typically want to close with something that works well, end on a high note. That one, that one happens less so for times, because sometimes you're on stage and you're like, oh shit, I gotta get off right now. All right, bye. Yeah. Before they come bring the fucking hook and crane on stage.
Right, because you don't have the Netflix special, right? You're not.
No.
You're not fucking making the deal yet.
No, we're working on it.
You're like, listen, if you can work your way on stage, you can talk for 20 seconds, and that's it.
No. But everybody has different ways of doing it. Some people really do go up there and they'll tell like one story, and some people are really good at telling one long story, and some people they will just bomb with it for like 5 minutes straight. And a story is tough because you can't midway through a story be like, never mind, because you got to finish the story. Yeah. So I've always wondered what it would be like to see you do stand up. You always kind of you have a stand up way. You're much more one man show.
Yes.
Than because you're very story driven.
I am.
But I would just remember in the theater building walking by the couches, and you'd be standing up among like 15 people and just holding court and just telling some fucking story. And then you're kind of like a jukebox. Well, people would be like, Treyton, tell the one about where you shoved the pickle up your ass. And
you're like, oh well,
that's
that's a classic one.
Yeah, well, let me tell you.
Yeah. Tell a story about your great grandfather who didn't have any legs. Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, legless Larry.
Well, his name was Ples Daddy, actually.
Ples Daddy.
Yeah, Pleasant Thacker was his name, and he didn't have one leg. Not a leg on Pleasant Thacker.
Was he not born with legs, or he lost them?
He was in a train accident. He got hit by a train.
What if he was born with one leg and then lost the other one tragically?
No, he was an alcoholic, and he was walking home from a party, and he passed out on the railroad tracks and got hit by a train. Damn. Took his legs clean off.
Railroad tracks, that's like, do you think that just in a drunken stupor, that's like the best place to nap? And you don't think about the train coming? Or do you think he just, horrible luck, passed out? Horrible luck. Just legs.
Yeah. But it survived.
Yeah, right? at least his head wasn't right on
it. Right. But that's not the crux of the story. The crux of the story is years later. My grandfather was also an alcoholic, and he was going fishing with my great uncle and my great grandfather, Ples Daddy. They were going fishing, and they were all drinking on the boat. And they got done fishing, and they put the rowboat up in the back of the truck. And my grandfather, drunk, was driving. And my great-uncle, drunk, was in the passenger seat. And my legless great-grandfather they decided to put him in the back of the truck with the boat because it was a two-seater. So they were driving back home. And
seatbelts kind of rely on a lap to put on, to put in.
Yeah, so it didn't really matter. So back in those days, back home, bridges had to be built from both sides of a body of water and like attached in the middle.
Yeah.
So there was a huge bump in the middle of the bridge, and my drunk grandfather looked at my drunk great uncle. By the way, my great uncle told me this story during my grandfather's funeral. He was like, "Okay, now that Robert is dead, I can tell somebody."
Yeah. The statute of limitations on this are well expired.
Yeah. So
you could not prosecute this man.
So my grandfather looked at my great uncle. He's like, "You know, it'd be funnier than shit. You know, it'd be funny as hell." He's like, "What, Robert?" He's like, "I'm going to speed up. I'm going to hit that bump in the middle of this bridge. I'm going to bounce Daddy in the back of this truck." He said, "Oh, Robert, that'd be funny as hell. Let's do it." So they, fucking revved that fucking truck. They hit the fucking bump in the middle of the bridge. And my great-grandfather was not only bounced in the back of the truck, but they had bounced him out of the moving truck and off the side of the bridge.
Dude, That's literally like a movie. That's like a cartoon.
Yeah. So imagine, if you will, you're an old man, right? You're an old man. You don't have any legs. You're drunk. And you're
It's at night, I'd imagine.
probably.
Yeah.
Your fucking idiot son is driving the truck you're in, and the motherfucker has purposefully thrown you from the back of a moving vehicle. And not only do you fall out, you go over the edge of the bridge you're driving across.
They would have never trusted him again. If I were that guy, I would from then on out. I don't know if they would have them back then, but you know those bicycles that you steer with your hand.
Yeah,
I would just take one of those everywhere.
So
like a motorized bicycle.
So my grandpa, they were laughing. In fact, they thought this is fucking hilarious.
If you got no legs, you could drive a motorcycle with like a basket on the front, but you're in the basket.
Yeah. So they were fucking. They like watched as he bounced in the back, and they didn't see him fucking come back down, and they stopped laughing. And my great uncle's like, and all we heard was, ah. Yeah. And I looked at Robert and I said, "Oh God, we killed him."
Deep water.
A river, a full moving river.
They didn't kill him, right?
So they tear ass, turn around, go back to the riverbank, and my great grandfather had paddled his way to the shoreline. And they got down there, and he was just laying there. Yeah, just laying on the shore. And that's how this story ends. But how fucked up is that, huh?
Jesus Christ. That's amazing. Did he have like a wheelchair they rolled around with?
Well, my family was too poor to afford a wheelchair for Play's daddy, so they just carried him around everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and when it was dinner time, they would sit him up on the dinner table, and he would just eat on the dinner table.
If you had to lose one limb, what would it be?
Left arm.
Left arm?
My left arm, clearly.
Yeah, I guess you would want to lose an arm.
Yep.
Because you want to be able to walk places. Yeah, I guess mine. I'm left-handed.
I need my right hand. I need my right hand.
See the
that's unfucking questionable.
Oh, see, wow. See, now I'm faced with a predicament. Because I write with my left hand, but I do nearly everything else with my right hand.
You're fucked either way.
So,
you gotta lose a leg, bud.
so do I Yes, I'll just lose a leg.
You gotta lose a leg.
You can wheel me around places.
Yeah. As long as I got my fucking hands, I'm good.
Yeah.
But my left hand is fucking useless. I don't do anything with my left hand.
That's so crazy. People my brother says, he's like, I'm ambidextrous, and then he'll write with his left hand, and it'd be
Evan's
like,
ambidextrous, brother. If you're listening to this, fuck you. No, you're not. Nobody is.
No, that's the thing. He'll write with his left hand. He'll sign like Grant, and it's like, okay, it looks terrible handwriting as is.
Sure.
But then he'll write with his right hand. It's like Grant. It just looks terrible. It looks like he's going for cursive.
Then you're not ambidextrous.
But he claims he is. But he says he does it easily.
That's like saying
I don't know.
That's like saying I know Spanish when I say que puedo ir al baño. Por favor.
I didn't know you speak Spanish.
I don't. I know that phrase.
I took like 11 years of Spanish. Couldn't say a word of it. I know a word. Hola.
Hola.
I know a little bit, but I can't speak it for shit.
No.
I mean, I did not pay attention. Do you ever have a class that you're like, I really wish I had paid attention? Or do you always pay attention in school? There's no way you were always paying attention in school.
No, I
wish I had paid attention in typing class.
In like grade school and high school, like I wouldn't say that I didn't, like, there were classes I didn't pay attention in, but like my attention span was handled largely due to the fact that a lot of the time I was far ahead, not because I was exemplary by any means, but because the teachers like had to pick up slack for people who were behind.
Okay.
And so usually I didn't really have a ton to do.
Just staring out the windows.
Yeah, so
doodling and shit.
Yeah.
I wish I had all my old all my old notebooks with all my old doodles in them. It would have looked like the fucking Jonah Hill's Notebook from Superbad. You know, remember with all the dicks and shit.
This is
extremely detailed dicks.
Oh my god! Wow.
Well, that's in the movie.
I've never seen it.
Mine were more cartoony. Oh, you gotta see Superbad.
I should see Superbad.
It's a classic comedy.
But here's when I was a kid, bunch of comic book nerds. I had friends with. I'm sure, shock to no one. But we had journals where we would draw all of the comic characters we had made up for our shared universe, which was really cool because I don't know if you ever experienced this as a kid, but one of the coolest things that we did as kids was we all made up our own superhero personas independently as we were growing up. Like
who you would be if you were a superhero?
Yeah.
Okay. Because me and my buddy Isaiah, we came up with Super Chipmunk and Squirrel.
Oh, those are good. That's actually cool names.
It's actually see him over there on the magnet.
Oh, is that him?
That's them. I drew that in 4th grade or some shit.
That's neat.
Yeah, it was, and then eventually we added in Super Chipmunk Super Chipmunk and Squirrel, and then there was Super Hamster.
Yeah.
Was he was the poof of the Fairly Odd Parents. Came in later.
Well, and here's what because we were all making up our own superheroes at home. But when we all became friends, our superheroes shared a universe. I'm not kidding you.
The Treyton's Friend Extended Universe.
Yeah. There was and a lot of these characters I've thought about writing, but
personified in your comic book.
Yeah, I've thought about it. I don't know that I'll ever do it. But there was a character, my character, his name was Black Raven.
Black Raven.
And essentially he was yeah, exactly. Essentially he was
rides by the night.
Yeah. And he was essentially if Angel from the X-Men having big fucking wings and Doctor Strange were a single character. So he did magic and shit, but he also had big fucking wings.
Dude, the original X-Men that the mid 2000s, early 2000s movie.
Oh yeah.
When they showed Angel and the fucking wings growing out of his back and he flies out that fucking it's terrifying. It's like American Werewolf in London, the transformation. It scarred me as a kid.
It's very scary.
The fucking Thriller killer, Thriller trailer. Thriller was a killer.
Yeah, Thriller was a killer.
The amount of kids that scarred.
Yeah.
I remember I was working a camp, and I had 3 separate kids come up to me in one summer who were just they were just off one day, and I asked them what was up, and they were like, "Yesterday I watched the Michael Jackson guy. I watched the Thriller music video."
Hilarious.
They scared the shit out of them.
Get away.
We were my thing that scarred me when I was a kid was the trailer for The Ring. I remember seeing the trailer for The Ring for the first time, and it scared the ever-loving shit out of me.
I never saw The Ring. The Ring was one of those that
I've still never seen it.
You think you'll die if you watch it?
It terrifies me.
That was one
just
of those
conceptually. It
was that and the I See Dead People Sixth Sense movie.
Yeah.
It's you heard about them so much growing up that I guess it took the mystique away from it. Yeah, because I knew the whole Ring was there's a chick crawls out of the TV and it's scary and you watch it and then you die 3 days later, and the people that watched the movie all thought they were gonna die 3 days later, but then 4 days after opening night,
and everybody's like, okay.
Everybody, okay.
I'm fine.
We're good.
But
I watched a Resident Evil movie, or I don't even know if it was Resident Evil. It was some sort of early 2000s zombie movie.
Yeah.
And there was a scene where it's the zombies were sieging this town, and the mayor of the town or some powerful figure, he had his daughter had been turned into a zombie, and he had her chained up in the basement.
This is The Walking Dead. This is a season of The Walking Dead.
It definitely is.
You're talking about the governor.
Well, that's no. It wasn't The Walking Dead.
Are you sure?
No, it was well before that. I was a very young child when I watched this.
That is exactly the plot of the governor in The Walking Dead.
That's because zombie movies have 2 plots that they can go back on. It's either we're in a mall and they're coming, or it's
we're at home and
or
they
it's like zombies have roamed the land for a while now, and this is just what life is, and there are all these different power structures. It's either right when zombies hit or like 3 years after the zombies hit. But this guy, he had like his daughter zombified in his basement, and this girl comes down and she's like, "What the hell? You have one down here?" He's like, "That's my daughter, damn it." He's like, "That's a killer right there. You have a murderer." And she like breaks out of the chain, and she like eats her dad. And the image of her breaking out, and she like eats him right at like the back, from the back of his neck. And it's like it's just scarred into my mind. And like the sound of it was like an apple crunch. It was like
gross.
And he was like, "Ah!" And I just remember running out of my kitchen. This was on my kitchen.
Terrifying.
Because we had like this tiny little like shitty little TV.
Yeah.
It looked like one of those that like you would have to crank it to, but it didn't have a crank on it. And it was just I guess fucking daytime TV.
Being a kid was so fucking wild. It was the wildest thing ever to be a kid.
You were just walking around waiting to be traumatized.
Yeah. And making up just all kinds of horse shit while you did it.
Yeah.
Like, I was being traumatized, and at the same time, my friends and I had a superhero team that like had a rotating cast of 12 or 13 members.
Yeah. We used to just walk around the neighborhood looking for like mysteries to solve and shit.
Mysteries to solve.
Me and my buddy Isaiah, we would walk over to his house, and we'd like just climb under like we could get into the sewer system.
Yeah.
And we go under there, and we had like a little fort set up down there, and like I remember our fort is like someone brought a plant down there, and like we hung a plant. And that was like our entire setup. We only hung down there a couple times, but we would sit down there and just like daydream about like, man, we can bring our PS2s down here.
Yeah.
We'll have our own fucking setup down here.
This is whenever, so like there was over the summer one year, like when summertime would hit and like you couldn't hang out with your friends from school anymore.
Yeah.
So once summer hit, like there would be a group of us that like hung out, like two separate groups of friends that would hang out like without each other, and like we would have our own. This is absolutely true. We would have our own story arcs for our like superheroes while they were like apart from each other, and then we would have to fill each other in when we got back. Like there was one.
You've been playing D&D since day one.
Yeah.
Before you even knew
Before
what
I
D&D.
knew I was playing D&D. So, like, there was one summer where 3 of our characters, my character and 2 of my friends' characters, we were the only 3 together, and we went, like, our characters went back in time and, like, stopped the Crusades from happening.
Jesus.
And that's what we did. And we came back, and we were like, yeah, we went back in time and stopped the Crusades from happening this summer. What did you guys do? What did your super-powered characters do while we were stopping the Crusades back in time?
They're like, what the fuck, dude? We had, like, a training montage where we got a little stronger.
Oh, well.
You went back in time? What
Yeah,
the
three of us. Well, actually, we didn't actively go back in time. It was an accident. But while we were there, we stopped the Crusades.
Oh, and by the way, while we were doing that, we kind of disrupted one of your character sidelines now, so your mom is dead now.
Yeah, your mom's dead.
So, sorry about that.
And so when we inevitably...
But your mom started the Crusades, so
yeah,
it had to be done.
When we inevitably do a Civil War type scenario where all of our characters are fighting each other, that can be part of your like motivation.
Yeah. You didn't bring us to stop the Crusades.
And when we went to stop the Crusades, we all got laid. Like I also want to be very clear that we did all get laid.
We got laid a ton. And we wrote that into
in 1400.
We wrote that into Christianity. We took out all the cuckold shit.
Yeah.
All the cock blocks.
All the adultery shit. That's all gone.
Yeah.
Gay. We were all getting laid all bunch.
All the homophobic shit. We took that out.
Yeah.
What if you just went back in time and did the Bible right?
Can do the Bible right be the title of this episode?
Sure. I would actually that should be like an experiment that someone smarter than us should do for like a theological I feel like if an atheist or an agnostic person like majors in theology,
sure. They should go back and write the Bible right.
Yeah, their dissertation should be to go through like the just popular St. James version?
King James.
King James.
King James.
Did they make King James St. James?
Nope. Because King James is a Protestant.
Oh.
And Protestants don't have saints.
Wait, is King James? That's not the Bible that I probably grew up on. Then.
No, probably not. I
Okay.
I would wager that you probably did not grow up on a Protestant Bible.
Oh, I mean, I've honestly never read it.
You should check it out. There's some interesting stuff in there.
There was we would go to this one place on Sundays, and this guy would kind of give us the spark notes of it. He would kind of give us the spark notes, and then he'd like kind of give us our thoughts on it, or his thoughts on it. But then he would like kind of try to tie in some metaphor using the UK U of L game later.
Bible Spark Notes is also a good title for this episode.
I like Do the Bible Right.
Do the Bible right.
It's like, hey, do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
Mookie, do the right
oh,
thing.
that's it. That's it. We got to get Spike Jones.
Spike
Lee. Yeah.
Spike Lee. Yeah.
I always get Spike Lee and Spike Jones. Not confused, but their names always come out.
Their names are they're two very different directors.
Yes.
Yeah, one hangs out with the Jackass guys, and the other one is
amazing.
Is a big social rights
that's
guy
it.
and shit.
Spike Lee's the Bible.
Spike Lee's the Bible.
Spike Lee's the Bible.
On the second day, God created the New York Knicks.
I feel like if Spike Lee did the Bible, there would be a whole lot more ambiguity. Even more so than already.
The Bible, a Spike Lee joint.
A Spike Lee joint. Actually, you know what? That might be it. The Bible, a Spike Lee joint.
We have so many different options here.
Yeah, this is a title-heavy episode. Clearly,
The Bible, a Spike Lee joint. Did he start the whole joint thing? No, because that's like a homage he did. I
have no idea.
Weren't they called like no, Alfred Hitchcock didn't call his movies joints, but
I'm gonna call this comic book I'm writing a Treyton Blackburn joint.
Oh God, a joint.
Treyton Blackburn joint.
Spike Lee. You ever did you ever see Black Klansman?
No, I want to real bad.
It's really good.
I want to see it real bad.
It's real. Spike Lee's great at doing those stylized movies.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Not all of Spike Lee's movies are good.
Sure.
I appreciate, and I haven't seen all of them, so I
Sure.
can't talk too much shit or the other way. I've seen Black Klansman, Do the Right Thing. I know he's got a couple ones that like.
Yeah.
That like you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that was a Spike Lee movie.
But you gotta respect like how much he's like paved the way for diversity in cinema. Like he's one of those like forerunners of black artistry in the cinema.
Yeah. Him and Tyler Perry. He's in good company.
Did you hear Medea's coming back?
No.
Medea's coming back for a Netflix special.
I don't know if I've ever seen a Medea movie.
Dude,
I saw the Big Mama back in the day.
Big Mama's House is not a Medea movie.
No, I know, but I thought they were similar. I thought they were the same thing.
I've seen
Martin Lawrence, I believe, did
very
Big Mama.
different genres. Very, very different genres.
Really?
Yes. Big Mama's House, they're much more slapstick than Medea movies.
What are Medea?
I grew up on Medea movies. My family fucking ate that shit up. I was like going to opening night premieres of Medea movies when I was a kid.
Medea's Halloween and shit.
Like even before that, like Diary of a Mad Black Woman, Medea's Family Reunion.
I've heard of that one.
Diary of like literally and
No. I think I saw one where there was like they went to college and like Medea was like she was like the college dorm. She was running the dorm.
she was yeah.
Yeah, that was maybe one of them.
There's Medea Goes to Jail. It's always a good hit.
So if they're not slapstick, what are they?
They're much more like situational comedy.
They're very story driven.
No, they're not. They're very much, but like I don't know.
Well, it's like a sitcom that they're just doing in movies.
Yes, that's actually a good analogy. It's very kind of sitcom-y, soap opera-y. Like it's a very weird tone.
There's similar characters through the movies that you get to know, and you're like
the different.
Oh, that's such a
like Martin
Medea
Lawrence's
thing.
classic Big Mama's House.
Yeah,
Big Mama like is a very like it's much more similar to Mrs. Doubtfire, right? Because the joke is Martin Lawrence is a man playing a woman.
Oh, okay.
And in the Medea movies, like Medea is a woman. Like the joke of Medea is not this is a man playing a woman. The joke of Medea is this is a very, very funny lady.
Yeah. And Tyler Perry plays Medea, right?
Yeah, and plays Medea straight. Like there's very little irony in Medea.
Oh no, yeah. I don't even know if I would recognize Tyler Perry without the Medea makeup and shit.
Yeah, he was in. I mean, he's done a lot of other like straight movies. He was in Vice.
Oh, never saw Vice.
He was Colin Powell.
No. I did see. That's the one
about Dick Cheney.
Yeah, I didn't. I thought that movie was going to be a lot better than it was.
See, I thought that movie was going to be a lot worse than it was. I thought it was going to be a very like typical biopic, and I really enjoyed the level of.
You're probably glad that it wasn't all propaganda and shit.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was. And I was very pleased with like the stylistic choices that Adam McKay made.
I did like the style. He did Adam McKay. He wrote that?
He directed it, I believe.
He directed it. Who am I thinking of?
He did The Big Short as well.
Okay, no, I am thinking of Adam McKay because I was about to mention The Big Short. That was a great movie that when I saw, I had to do like 20 minutes and like 4 years of college to understand just to completely wrap my head around it.
What happened?
Yeah, cause
fucking crazy, dude.
I mean, they do a good job of trying to explain it to you. They're like, here's Margot Robbie in a hot tub, but then she's talking about economics and it's Margot Robbie in a hot tub, and who can focus on economics?
Sure,
yeah.
But fucking capitalists, dude. I don't know how anybody can watch The Big Short and be like, capitalism isn't the most evil thing ever.
I haven't seen Wall Street. My dad loves that movie.
I've also never seen Wolf of Wall Street.
No, I've seen The Wolf of Wall Street.
I have not seen that movie.
There's a separate movie called Wall Street. And that came out in the 80s, and that was actually very representative of the 80s. That was the famous "Greed is Good" line by Martin Sheen.
I can't like
and Charlie Sheen, I believe, is in that movie.
I struggle with fucking any of those like the movie that I point to that like the genre of movie I can't stand is Glengarry Glen Ross. I cannot stand those movies.
And I think I know why you don't like them because they prop up, they make it glamorize the business world and the shark mentality and all that shit.
Yes.
I get it.
David Mamet should be executed.
I bet I know a movie that you would love.
Okay.
If you've seen it, American Psycho.
I do love American Psycho.
Because that is
beautiful satire. Beautiful.
American Psycho is such a good movie. That's a movie that I need to rewatch because I didn't quite get it when I went through a big phase when I was younger of like I remember distinctly being in like 6th or 7th grade and thinking about like everybody talks about movies.
Yeah.
And I want to like talk to adults about like I want to get their references that they make and shit. And so I just made a list of like 1,000 movies that like everybody had seen, and I tried to watch as many of them as possible.
Right.
And I ended up watching a lot of shit that I really liked and a lot of shit that I liked but I didn't understand.
I gotcha.
Fully. Like Leon the Professional.
Sure.
I watched that movie when I was very, very young. I just remember that I really liked it and it was a good movie. I couldn't tell you what was good about it or anything, and I bet if I rewatched it now, I can go on and on about how they did this and that's a masterpiece because of that and that. But American Psycho, I just remember.
It's brilliant.
I just remember I'm like, this guy is fucked up.
Yeah.
And then he's fucking when he goes to the ATM and it's feed me a cat.
Yeah.
And he tries to stick the cat in there. Or he succeeds, I think.
Yeah.
Which I always thought an ATM can't suck up a cat.
No, certainly not.
I guess part of that was in his head.
Sure.
Or something.
Well, of course, anybody listening to this podcast for any number of times know that I love a good capitalist critique.
Yeah.
Another great movie and play that I really like is Death of a Salesman.
Ooh, that's a classic.
That talks about how capitalism finds labor very disposable.
That's a classic.
A man is not a piece of fruit.
A man, Biff. We watched that in
with Dustin Hoffman.
No. We didn't watch it with Dustin Hoffman. That's a no. I don't like the Dustin Hoffman one. I like the who's the Hannibal Lecter. He just won an
Anthony
Oscar.
Hopkins.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins plays
Willie
Willie
Loman.
Loman in a production, and that's on YouTube. Death of a Salesman. I know a lot of people listening to this probably are like not theater people, or they're theater people, or they're theater adjacent, or if they're friends with us, then they kind of like they're like, hey, how's theater going?
Right.
So like, how do you memorize those lines and shit? So like, non-theater people are very they would never sit down and just watch like plays and shit.
Sure.
On a whim. But I think there are a handful of just plays and musicals that you have to be like, you should watch this. No. Before you start just shitting on theater and like actors and theater culture and all that, just really sit down and watch this and just take in the themes and all that shit of that. Death of a Salesman is definitely one of those.
The Crucible is up there.
Yeah, and then Hamilton.
Speaking of Hamilton,
have
you seen the trailer for In the Heights?
Washington Heights.
Okay, so I know literally nothing about In the Heights.
Yeah.
I know absolutely nothing about it.
I know the musical. I used to be really into the musical. A handful of years ago.
Well, a musical you can be in.
No, yeah, I mean,
quite obviously.
No, yeah, I used to listen, and before I even put that together, I was like, I want to play this character and that character.
Oh, baby.
No, yeah, and I'm like, you ain't got no skills. I'm the Puerto Rican Benny.
Yeah.
And shit, yeah. I mean, you don't put that together when you're in high school.
Sure.
Or at least I didn't. The high school I went to. But no, yeah, that. I enjoy. So Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote In the Heights. For anyone who's not familiar, he's the guy who wrote Hamilton.
Yes.
He wrote In the Heights.
Boss.
He wrote In the Heights. It was like his big college project that he worked on for years and years and years.
Won Tonys for it.
Won Tonys. It was kind of overshadowed. Like when Hamilton came out, everybody was like, "Who's this guy?"
But the guy who won a Tony a few years ago. What the fuck are you talking about?
He won Best Musical. But I prefer, I mean, Hamilton is, love it or hate it, shit on it, say what you will about it.
Sure.
It's undoubtedly like, I don't know.
It's the Wicked of our age.
It's a masterpiece in that world. Like, as far as like a spectacle Broadway show, the whole thing is wrapped and just the way it tells a story, it's a masterpiece.
It is.
It's Lin-Manuel. He's a genius in all that regard. But I liked In the Heights a lot more, just because it's more the story's more personal to him. It's pretty much him growing up where he grew up in Washington Heights. He grew up in Washington Heights, right? He's Puerto Rican and shit. They talk about Puerto Rico and shit.
Yeah.
And it But I guess the reason we brought it up because they're making a movie version of it. And the
directed
trailer
by John Chu.
I don't know.
It's either John Cho or John Chu. I think it's the guy who directed Crazy Rich Asians.
I can look it up real quick. Crazy Bitch Asians.
Nope, not that. Crazy Rich Asians.
Crazy Rich Asians.
There you go, bud.
Sorry, typo there. John M. Chu, yes. John M. Chu. I never saw Crazy Rich Asians.
I didn't either, but I've heard nothing but good things.
Yeah. My mom really enjoyed it.
But
I normally don't go with my mom's movie recommendations.
Why? You don't like Steel Magnolias?
No, actually, my mom, she has a really weird taste of movies where like she'll latch on to certain movies and it'll be like her new favorite movie and she'll watch it like every night before she goes to bed for like 3 months straight. And she's done it with Pitch Perfect,
interesting,
Moulin Rouge.
I love Moulin Rouge.
And then weirdly, The Watch, which was
what is that?
It's a like a raunchy like comedy with Ben Stiller and I think the tall guy from the tall guy from How to Train Your Dragon with this voice.
Yeah.
That guy, he's in Knocked Up and shit. it's just like a raunchy movie where they're like the Night's Watch and they're like walking around at night and I think like aliens invade or some shit.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it was like her favorite movie for like a year.
Fuck, that's good.
Couldn't explain it.
But so they dropped the first 8 minutes of In the Heights on YouTube.
Yes.
And I said, I'm going to watch this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I know nothing about it. Let's see what I think. I don't know that I've ever been as blown away by a movie musical scene as I was from the first 8 minutes of In the Heights. I'm like,
really?
This is a fucking another level of movie musical.
Well,
this rules.
Well, I haven't seen the first 8 minutes of the movie, but if it's anything like the intro for the musical is probably, it's if not the best part of the musical, it's probably the best part of the musical.
Sure.
Because it's just, you meet all the characters and it's
I
the
was
guy.
literally having this conversation with Tara just a few days ago.
It's a great introduction of characters.
I like it when a musical, because musicals are so hard to remember the characters.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people on the fucking stage. They're all changing costumes, and it's so hard to remember who's who.
Yeah.
And what I love in the Heights, Into the Woods does this.
Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
An opening number that introduces the cast.
And you know what both of those musicals do, and it's what is brilliant of Lin-Manuel and Stephen Sondheim is that they assign each character kind of like their own musical tone and shit. So every time that opening number, it's swinging from different characters to different characters, and then every time it goes over to this guy, it's like light and airy, and then it's like dun 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 for another thing. It's like it's what movies do. Every time you see Jack Sparrow, it's dun 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 dun.
Well, and you've got, and literally, I want to make sure every single person here knows. I know nothing about In the Heights. I've never seen it. The only song I've listened to is the opening number. But from what I saw, you've got, like, you're right. Every character has their own musical thing. You've got Usnazi's musical theme.
Yeah.
And he's kind of acting like this stage manager role, introducing you to Washington Heights.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Salon Girls.
Yeah, and it's very poppy.
They've got that very poppy.
Yeah.
And like, it's never said, but that Vanessa works at the hair salon because the theme repeats when Vanessa enters later into the opening number. It's that same very poppy.
Yeah.
You've got
Benny's when they introduce Benny, it's real smooth and like this is the guy that you just want to hang out with. He's very carefree. He'll take you away from your issues and shit. And all of his songs are like that too.
I have not heard them.
And they've got Christopher Jackson
He was Benny on Broadway.
He was Benny.
I do know that,
but he's got the guy.
Because here's a game.
He's the guy who played George Washington in the original Hamilton.
Here's a game for all you people out there.
Smoothest voice
in the world.
Yeah.
Listen, anytime you're listening to a Lin-Manuel Miranda show, play the game. Who did Chris Jackson play in the original production?
Yeah,
because you'll figure it out.
Yeah,
it'll be obvious.
He plays the best singer.
Yeah, the best. Whatever role has the best song.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, pretty much.
And then you've got fucking Mr. Rosario, who runs the cab company across the road, and he's got that old Latin music, so you can already tell this guy's old school. This guy, like, you've got that really like hot fusion pop for the younger Latin characters, and you've got his really old Latin music.
Oh, and his cousin is
Sonny?
very hip hoppy and shit. Yeah.
See, I know nothing about this musical, but the opening number is so good that I know all of that easy. Abuela is introduced first, this woman who's his grandmother but not his grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
She's the first character he introduces. She's a cornerstone of the community. She's going to be very important to the narrative.
She's very, very important to the narrative.
And I know that exclusively from the opening number because she's the first person he introduces. And she is introduced alone.
Yeah.
Which is the only character. And she is, it's also fascinating, she is introduced giving advice. Try my mother's old recipe, 1 can of condensed milk.
Yes. Oh my God, that's so perfect. Here, I want to, so we're gonna end this episode doing a little shorter one here.
Yeah.
And then next week you will get a little shorter one as well.
A little short baby.
Yeah.
Because we're busy boys.
But so we're gonna end this episode. I call it In Defense of Musicals.
In defense of musicals.
So because I've had to do this my entire fucking my entire career doing theater. Everybody, you meet an asshole and he's like, why can't they just like do the same thing without singing and dancing? Why they gotta sing and dance?
Because it does so much so quickly.
I know, yes.
Like you can do a narrative with musical that you just can't do with a play because it would take too much time to do it with dialogue.
Yes, exactly. So
a song does shit so fast.
In defense of musicals. In defense of musicals are they're kind of like a big Hollywood blockbuster movie that you enjoy that like does well.
Yes.
That you might hate, but it does well. It's because it's built on a structure, on a format, and with Hollywood you can be like, oh, it's cheesy. Hollywood sucks because the format is to make money and shit. But Broadway, I mean, they're trying to make money too, obviously. But Broadway, the structure of it is so great because they have butts and seats for 2.5 hours, and they have to sustain that through an intermission, all these fancy lights and shit, all the ushers and the ticket prices and the parking and all that shit. They have to. I read a whole book on it years ago. It's called the making of like the machinery of the American musical or some shit like that. Well, it's a whole ass structure, and just little things like that, like the opening sequence and shit. It's so hard to put that puzzle together of these characters and these themes, and this is going to come in later,
and sound.
And people who like, I don't know, a jackass might go see West Side Story and be like, oh, too dancey and stuff. But I don't know. It's so cool that to hear someone from like Treyton who knows musicals and stuff so well, and you don't know anything about this.
I know nothing about In the Heights.
But I'm telling you, you're dead on.
I know I'm dead on because the opening number is so strong. Like, it's because much like the blockbuster, the musical is an American art form. Like it is something that was developed and perfected in the United States.
Yes.
And much like a blockbuster, one of the things that makes a blockbuster successful is giving the audience the information they need as quickly as possible.
Yes, and both going with audience expectations and subverting them.
Yes.
Because I mean, obviously as a movie you want to subvert your audience expectations.
Right.
You don't want them to know the whole shit that's going to happen before it happens. But there's certain expectations that you have to go with that just like makes sense. It's like there's certain things struck narrative wise that like if you don't do, the audience will just be like, what? It's like you got to hear that.
Yeah.
It's like musical. It's like certain notes you just have to put. It's just the brain needs that.
It needs it. And if you don't put it, you're like, it's a choice to not put it.
Yeah, it's a big choice.
And here's another thing about the In the Heights opening number. And you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. I don't care. But I think it's interesting that every person who comes into the store during the opening number buys a lottery ticket. Everybody buys a lottery ticket.
They got big dreams.
And I guarantee somebody's going to hit the fucking lottery. I don't know who it's going to be. Probably Abuela. Probably Abuela's going to hit the lottery.
You don't need to see this movie.
Oh, really?
You don't need to see this movie. There's well, I will tell you that the actually the more I think about this musical, the best song is the opening number, but the most popular song, I'll just tell you, it's called 93,000.
93,000?
93,000.
Interesting.
93,000.
But like and like it's even like the foreshadowing is done so well. Whenever Mr. Rosario comes in and buys a ticket, he's like, put $20 in today's lottery. Must be a lucky day. Gotta be. Like they set up somebody's winning the lottery, and it's probably going to be Abuela.
Yeah.
Probably Abuela's going to win the lottery. I don't know what that's going to do for anybody.
Yeah. So
I don't know where a plot comes out of that, but that appears to be what is being foreshadowed.
So go see In the Heights, folks. You might know what happens, but it's all about the spectacle.
Yeah.
That really is. That's a great show.
Paciencia y fe. Patience and faith, which is what Abuela is introduced with, and I guarantee you, I've not seen this movie, and I know nothing about the musical, but if there's not a song called Paciencia y fe, I'll eat my ass.
Well, Treyton will not be eating his ass. Because
but like, in defense of musicals, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to get all that.
No. And also in defense of musicals are one of the things where just because even if you do, like, you know how this movie's going to play out. And
well,
shit.
I don't know where the conflict's going to come in.
But that's the thing. Like, you know all this shit about it, but you still will go see it,
right?
Because
and have discoveries.
Yeah, and the spectacle and the whole thing, and if you're into it and with an open mind, it will it'll move you.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because the fucking opening number is brilliant.
Yes.
And I am so excited to see how that fucking carries. Because I'm like purposely like I don't want to know anything else about it. I mean, I guess I've guessed a lot really accurately from the way you're reacting.
I won't tell you anything else.
But I'm trying to think. The Piragua guy. Lin-Manuel Miranda dressed as somebody's dad, wheeling around a Piragua cart.
Yeah.
I don't know his deal. He's just kind of there.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand where he's going to come into all this.
Once again, you're kind of right.
I don't quite know what his deal is.
He's got a fun song that he's got a great song that that I just know the musical version that Lin-Manuel Miranda is going to butcher in the movie.
What?
Because it's the guy who sings it in it's a very opera-y, like, Latin song.
Interesting.
And it's called Piragua.
Oh, I guess I could have guessed.
And
he's going to sing a song about the one defining character trait he has is that he sells Piragua. I don't even know if he has a name beyond, like, the guy who sells Piragua.
I don't know. It's Lin-Manuel Miranda, that little rapscallion.
And I would wager... Hold on, let me see if I can, because I'm on a roll. Let me see if I can hit something else. Mr. Rosario's daughter Nina came home at 3 a.m. last night, according to the opening number. She's at college. He struggles to pay for it. She's having financial trouble and isn't going to be able to go back to school. That's my guess. Nina's having issues with her tuition.
I can't fully remember. Something maybe. You might be right, you might not be right.
That's a guess I have.
I guess you...
Because I can't comprehend why they would be like, she came home at 3 a.m. last night if there's not some issue with school.
She's not pregnant, I'll tell you that.
I don't know why that would be
because I remember watching in an interview with Lin-Manuel Miranda. He was working on this, and the first time he took it outside of college, took it to like a Broadway producer. He the first thing he says is like, Nina's got to get pregnant, and that's why like her life falls apart. And,
interesting.
And Lin-Manuel Miranda was like, fuck you, dude.
I hate white people.
He's like, fuck you. Like, that's the most cliche whatever thing.
Can you imagine being the guy who shot down Lin-Manuel Miranda?
Oh, you got to be killing yourself right now.
Yeah, you got to be like, fuck!
He's like Charlie Chaplin, man. Everybody knows that cat.
Yeah. And boy, howdy. As genius as he is at writing musicals, he is equally as awful performing them. Boy, howdy. I love you, Lin-Manuel Miranda. If you ever listen to this, I love you so much. You are... Please don't get on stage. Please.
It's so sad because he says that the whole reason that he started writing musicals was so that he could have a role to play, that he could put him, which he has. He has cast himself as the protagonist in both of his musicals.
And he's really not a bad singer. But
he really is. He in the eye of a hurricane there is quiet. He sounds like they recorded that in the middle of a hurricane.
But nothing is in nothing he writes is in his range.
No, nothing's in his like he's he's not a good singer. I'm sorry.
Oh wow,
Lynn, I love you. Keep writing shit.
Yeah, you're amazing.
Maybe keep rapping. He's a good freestyler. That's another thing that pisses people off. It's like Hamilton fans are like Rick and Morty fans. The fan base turns people off of the product, which is actually a decent thing.
Yeah.
Hamilton fans are like, Lin-Manuel Miranda's my favorite rapper. And real hip hop heads are like, fuck you, dude.
Well,
like,
and certainly Lin-Manuel Miranda, like he talks enough about like Biggie and fucking
Tupac and all that shit. And,
like I'm sure Lin-Manuel Miranda's like, oh no, I am the person who is not supposed to be here. You understand, like that?
He is. He's a musical theater kid who's doing hip hop.
Yeah, and that's
very
cool.
much.
That's very great.
Which is fine. He's merged the genres. Good for you, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Hey, Lin, you're a good guy, and please keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and hey, Lin-Manuel, thanks for listening to this
episode.
Listening
to this episode of Kentucky Fried Roadkill.
Kentucky Fried
Roadkill. The boys. Would you like to do a sign off? Whose turn is it?
I think it's your turn.
It's my turn to do a sign off? Okay. Oh, you gotta count me off. I can't do it.
3, 2, 1.
What if In the Heights was what if Quentin Tarantino directed it? I'm Treyton Blackburn.
I'm Evan Pride.
Bye guys.
Bye guys.